A couple of minutes with us each and every week, professor of surgery at Washington University School of Medicine. Good morning, Dr. Bradley Freeman.
Hey, good morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly.
I love this first story you want to touch on, and that is The Biggest Loser, which is a TV show where they pit contestants to lose weight. It's been on now for a good 5, 6, 7 years. They've done a study over the weight loss that has taken place on the TV show, and what did they find out?
Well, this is a very interesting study, and I think we've all met friends and relatives, and if you're in the medical field, patients who were at one time quite overweight. They lose a lot of weight, over 100 pounds, and then you see them several months later, and they've gained a lot of it back, and you say, well, what in the world is going on? How could you go through all the trouble to lose that much weight and gain it back? And so what these researchers did, they asked the question as to why does that happen? Is it just that people fall off the wagon, so to speak, meaning that they have a lot of dietary indiscretion, don't watch their diet, don't exercise enough, or is there something else going on? So they looked at several contestants from a single season from this Biggest Loser show, and all of these individuals had lost in excess of 100 pounds. And all but one gained most of that weight back. And so interestingly, they found out that what happens when very obese people lose a lot of weight is that their metabolic rate resets. And that's a fancy way of saying that they become much more efficient in utilizing the calories they take. So if I was going to draw an analogy, it would be like going from a car that was a gas guzzler that, say, got 20 miles a gallon, say a car that got 40 miles a gallon. So that's what happens to these people that lose a lot of weight. They become very fuel efficient, if you will. And in contrast to a car where the gas stays in the tank, that excess caloric intake is translated into pounds. So it turns out that they don't need as many calories to maintain their weight. Anything in excess they take in is added on by weight. So, I think it's a very insightful study and really goes a long way to help people understand why is it so hard for these people to keep weight off. And I think it really calls for the need to kind of change how we think, again, about not only weight loss, but keeping it off, and whether there's different dietary approaches one can take or medications that might be available to help these people. But I thought it was a very intriguing story.
It's interesting, and that's the physical side of it, but there's got to be a mental makeup to it as well, right? You've reached your goal, great, now I can start eating again, right? I mean,
I think so. I do think that is part of it. And as we've talked before, I think that it really requires a total change in lifestyle. It's not only how much you eat, but how much you exercise. How you always take the stairs as opposed to the elevator. You walk short distances instead of taking your car. But, this would suggest there's something biologic there that really predisposes these people to gaining more weight. And they make the very good example, say, if you take somebody that is at 200 pounds, if that person previously weighed 300 pounds, they would be much more efficient in utilizing calories than someone who was never overweight. So in essence, these two people could take the same amount of calories in and have the same amount of exercise, but the person that was previously overweight would be much more prone to gaining weight, all things being equal.
Yeah. Doctor, while we still have you quickly, should we be allowed to order our own lab tests?
So this was an interesting article. So this was in the Wall Street Journal. It was a pro-con debate, and there's a big move in medicine, which I applaud in terms of transparency. So a lot of patients now have full access to their medical records, and there's all types of things that you can get access to on the web, such as symptom checker and that sort of thing. And there's a school of thought that says, well, patients should be able to order every test under the sun, assuming that they want to bear the financial burden. And I think the problem with it, I think in essence, in a lot of ways we're moving towards that. And a company that you've profiled previously on your show, Theranos, which is in the spotlight for other reasons, but one of the things that I think that they tried to do was really make lab testing affordable and available to the public. But the problem is that a lot of these tests require a lot of interpretation, and there can a lot of times be results that they're slightly abnormal that potentially would drive a lot of expense in it, and in some respects maybe somewhat dangerous diagnostic testing. So I think in general it's best to order lab tests in consultation with an expert But I think that this is something we're going to hear more about.
Dr. Bradley Freeman, we'll leave it there. Have a good week. Thanks for checking in.
Hey, have a great day.
Dr. Bradley Freeman, professor of surgery